Hello, sportsman. Hey, are you a bow hunter? Are you aware of some of the new products on the market for bow hunters? I'm going to show you some of these products in the next half hour. Also going to take you goose hunting on an early goose opener. This will put you in the mood for our hunting seasons, which start now at the 1st of September. Oh, we have a recipe and a lot more. So you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost, and it's time for the Practical Sportsman.
Knock, draw, shoot.
Hunting white-tailed deer with a bow and arrow is an ultimate challenge. Now, what makes it so tough is that the hunter has to get close to the deer, very close. A heavy compound bow with a 70 or 80-pound draw weight can reach out 30, 40 yards if the bow hunter is a good shot, but lighter weight bows demand that the hunter be closer, 20 yards or so from the deer. Now, some states and provinces have regulations requiring a minimum 45-pound draw weight. A lot of women, teenagers, and even men who have physical disabilities cannot pull back and shoot a 45-pound bow accurately. But with lighter weight bows at shorter ranges, they can take deer as well as anybody. Should there be a minimum restriction on bow hunters? Well, before you make up your mind, listen to the story of one hunter who gears up with a lightweight bow. Now, a lot of people are going to say, can't be done. What was the draw weight on your bow?
28 pounds.
Now, haven't people told you that that's not heavy enough to hunt deer with?
No,
Nobody's
because
told you
I've
that?
taken 10, so they kind of believe I can do it now in the family, yeah.
10 deer with a 28-pound bow?
And not only that, I've seen 2 of them fall, hit them hard enough that they fell within range of being able to see them. So
How close do you shoot?
about 20 yards. This one was at 20, yeah.
So you don't shoot much more? You don't do 30-yard shots or anything?
No, I don't think I'd get enough penetration. I only got about 6 inches probably, hit one long.
But that's really all
Did the
you
job.
need.
That's right. I only went about 300 yards, I guess.
That's 10 deer in how many years?
About 18 bow hunting, but I gun hunt also, and I've taken 10 with a gun, so I've got 20 all total.
Are those bucks, does? What's the...
About 14 bucks and some does, but some of the bucks were small ones, not naturally not like this.
Like what do you call a small one?
Well, button bucks, spike horns, a lot of spike horns up in the state land. Yeah,
we're on the same wavelength then.
Yeah, right.
I thought maybe you were working down to 8s and 10s.
No.
Well, that's great. Jeez, I never dreamed, coming up here that you got this with a 28-pound bow. I would have thought that maybe you'd start cranking the bow up to 35 or...
I cranked it up one time a few years ago when I'd been to the gym and worked out, and the first deer that came in on a nice cool morning, I had trouble getting the bow pulled back. I had to do one of these big... I said, put it back down where I can pull it comfortably and
shoot accurately.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Great story. Let's have a big round of applause for Linda Luna with a 28-pounder, 10th deer.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I understand also it's going to be probably the largest deer for a woman bow hunter. The recording period's not over till the end of March, but it may be a new record.
Awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. Using a lightweight bow for deer isn't a problem if the hunter restricts shooting to 20 yards or less. There are 2 reasons. 1, the arrow will maintain enough velocity to guarantee sufficient penetration to kill the deer humanely. And 2, a reasonably good archer can maintain accuracy within 20 yards. Bows with heavier draw weights are preferred, though, because they shoot arrows faster, and faster arrows don't have the arching trajectory of slower arrows, which makes them easier to shoot accurately. In this quest for speed, bow hunters have done several things. They've gone to arrows that are smaller in diameter and lighter weight. They've gone to compound bow designs that have oblong cams instead of round wheels. Those oblong cams snap the string faster when they're released. And archers have gone to release aids that clip onto the string instead of using their fingers to release the arrow. But what effect do these improvements have on arrow accuracy? The Easton Aluminum Company, which dominates the market with aluminum arrows, produced a video where a variety of bows and arrows and releases were photographed shooting arrows in super slow motion. Let's just look at 3 of these. First, a bow shot with fingers. In slow motion, you can see the string rolls off the shooter's fingers, so it starts a little off-center. Halfway out the bow, it's clear off the arrow rest, which bends the arrow sideways. This straightens out after the arrow leaves the bow. The flight stabilizes. But what happens in the split second after the shooter lets the arrow fly looks pretty scary. With that kind of stress on an arrow, you can see why the shooter has to release the arrow consistently every time. Otherwise, accuracy will be inconsistent. Now let's take a look at a cam bow, the fastest type on the market today. We'll solve the sideways motion of the string by using a mechanical release aid. But oblong cams on a compound snap the string so fast at the beginning of the acceleration that the arrow actually bows up vertically. The vanes flap like the fins on a fish because the arrow is oscillating up and down. With heavy draw weights and cams, the arrows have to be matched perfectly with the bow, or that fast acceleration will bend an arrow way out of shape in the first few inches of travel, and a mismatched arrow won't shoot accurately. Now, the third example, a heavier, larger diameter hunting arrow shot with a release aid. This is close to perfect arrow travel without warping or bending. A wheel bow doesn't have the initial acceleration quite as fast as a cam bow, and the heavier arrow gets a slower launch than the lighter arrow, but it releases clean, holds its shape, and for most shooters, this combination will be more accurate. Now, all three of these can be accurate. The kind of equipment you choose is up to you, as long as it's tuned and balanced and you stick within the limitations of penetration and accuracy. How you gear up is your choice, but how you shoot when you're hunting is your responsibility. So choose wisely and shoot responsibly. That's the key to gearing up. How do you build your muscles for archery without pulling your bow? Well, Saunders came up with a perfect solution. It's an exerciser they call the power pull, exercising the same muscles you use for archery. The beauty of it is you can develop your bow pulling muscles anytime, anywhere. Saunders is also marketing a device for release shooters who want to practice dry snapping their releases, something you cannot do on a bow without an arrow. Dry snapping will crack the limbs. Again, you can practice with your release anytime, any place without arrows. As for practical targets, Ed Urban from Owasso tried stuffing a feed sack full of plastic bags, those paper or plastic stuff from the supermarket. He found that the plastic bags have tremendous arrow stopping ability, and recycling these bags takes a little of the guilt out of asking for plastic at the supermarket. Ed got this idea from Tom Phelps from Coldwater, who found a source for scraps of hollow fill. It's an insulation material for sleeping bags and coats. He stuffs hollow fill into burlap bags. Now, we found both targets stop arrows well, and the best thing is that the arrows come out easily. 2 fingers does it. No. Actually, the best thing is you can make these targets yourself, and they cost little or nothing. It can't get any more practical than that. Explain to me this third lens you have in your glasses, Earl.
Well, I shoot underneath my glasses. I look very close to my nose, so I use the lens to be able to see my sight pins.
You mean, can you just pull up and draw so we can look at it this way?
Hand.
And use your hands.
Okay.
So you're drawing, you're using the peep sight.
Okay.
Well, that's right. So, I see. That moves your glasses up, and you're looking. Is that like a bifocal?
Yes.
And you look right down through the sight pin.
Yep.
Interesting. Where'd you get that?
I made it.
You did?
Yes.
What kind of material is the lens?
It's a plastic safety glass type of material.
Huh.
Normal manufacturer of eyeglasses.
No, when you're shooting, what does the target look like?
Perfectly good.
It does?
Yes. Yes. Target's fine.
And so is the sight, the whole
I can
nine
see
yards?
this. See, my glasses, my prescription is I can see about this far, and then from that point on, I can't see for the next foot or so real clear. That's where my sight pin is, so I use this third lens to be able to see my sight pin, and it's clear at a distance.
Do you use this for hunting?
I just made it this summer.
What do you think? You can use it for hunting?
Yes.
Okay, well, good. Be interesting to see how you do.
Yeah, better than last year, I hope.
Bow hunters have always had the problem of where to put their bows while they're waiting for deer, which can be hours. Sport Shield Manufacturing developed a unique bow holder they call the Rest. It straps around your leg. The bottom wheel of your compound rests in the pouch. The top is held by a hook, leaves your hands free, but the bow is ready. What do you think for $18? Amazing or amusing? Another problem archers have is keeping the arrow on the arrow rest. Tip your bow and the arrow falls off, which can scare a deer and blow your chances. To solve this, the Stay Put arrow holder was developed, a small piece of soft silicone material that holds the arrow in place, but when you shoot it, it flies out of the way. No effect on the arrow flight. At $14, what do you think? Amazing or amusing? And here's a wild product marketed by Scott Yarborough of Sky Manufacturing.
This is the new Ultraloader 2000, which is an automatic arrow loader, which allows you to shoot 2 arrows in as little time as about 3 seconds. When you shoot the first arrow, the energy stored in the limbs triggers this latch mechanism, which allows the second arrow to flip over onto your rest right in front of your string. At that point, all you have to do is to push the string into the nock, it'll hold it there, and then as you draw back with either fingers or release, the clamp opens up out of the way and you're ready to shoot instantaneously.
How long does it take to get off 2 shots?
Nock, draw, shoot.
That took exactly 3 seconds. You let go. The spring is released that turns the second arrow over directly in line with the string. You push the string into the nock. The arrow holder flips out of the way when you draw. There's no way your eye can catch what's happening at regular speed, but when we slow it down, you can see. The hinged mechanism is simple enough so that it works flawlessly. All you do is engage the string onto the nock and pull back. Your second arrow is ready. It's an intriguing concept, but at $69, will most archers find the Ultraloader amazing or amusing? It's daybreak on a farm pond. Wildlife artist and hunter Larry Corey is setting goose decoys. It's the opening day of a special early goose season in southern Michigan. Rob Lewis from Okemos sets up a makeshift blind from burlap and wooden stakes along the water's edge. The geese that'll be coming into this pond use it every day in between their feeding sprees in surrounding farm fields. Larry Corey sets decoys, then unravels some camouflage material to drape over his blind, which is partially covered with grass, which he pulled from around the blind. Geese are big birds, tough birds, and I use big shells, 12-gauge 3.5-inch magnums, copper-plated steel BBs, 1 9/16 ounces. The price of a box is $18. Add to this a $15 federal duck stamp, a $4 state stamp, and a $10 small game license. That's nearly $29 for the basic licenses. This cost, the decline in waterfowl, and the complex regulations have reduced the number of waterfowl hunters dramatically across the United States. My Mossberg Ultimag shoots these 3.5-inch shells, but it's plugged so the gun can only hold 3. That's a federal regulation for waterfowl hunting. Now I put the safety on, set the gun in the blind, and this is where I'll spend the next few hours. Because the grass is wet, I wear my Gore-Tex insulated pants for the first few hours to keep dry. Goose hunting is exciting, calling and watching the geese come in. For the next minute, you'll see what it's like to sit in a goose blind. I like the looks of this. Of them. Now this is where you hope you didn't make a mistake, and they're going to make one more turn. Come on, one more turn. it looks like both flocks are passing us by, so we work harder on the calls. Finally, after all this anticipation, 2 geese are down. Rob Lewis's retriever, Bubba, jumps into action, first getting the goose that landed in the field. Bubba is well trained.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
A well-trained dog is not only helpful, but it's a pleasure to be around. Oh, here's more geese. There's no predicting exactly when geese are going to appear. They often surprise you. Now, this group of 8 wants to come down, setting their wings. But the green duckweed that blew into our side of the pond isn't something geese like to land in. So they plop down in the open water, which is out of gun range. Out of range.
Over your head.
I think you can take that one. All right, got it. That was with a 10 gauge. Wildlife artist Richard Tim got that goose with a 10-gauge goose gun, a big shell that reaches out a few extra yards with lots of power. And one goose makes a few final post-mortem reflexes on the water, but all the rest got away. That's not good news for farmers and golf course owners and people with big yards who are plagued by these local Canada geese. This early season is designed to remove some of these problem geese from the flocks. Tell you, a good dog is invaluable. That thing's stroke. Bubba has to work for this goose. It's a long way from the blind, and he had to cross a lot of water to get it before his tough job begins. A lot of people enjoy the beauty of something like that. These local Canada geese are the giant variety, often weighing more than 10 pounds. Now, that's not just a mouthful for a dog, but it's a lot of dead weight to bring back to the blind. Bubba wanders a little bit after he gets on shore because he's tired. I'm sure Bubba looks forward to duck season when his job will become easier and more fun for him. But Rob Lewis is happy, probably happier to see his dog do a good job than anything. In fact, we all enjoy watching good dog work. Nelson Hurst and Richard Tim know that training a retriever to obey like this takes daily work, but it's worth it. I managed to get one goose this morning, but this year I thought I'd better do something I've never done before, which is required by federal law. Tag your waterfowl if they're mixed with birds taken by other hunters. Now, this wouldn't be a good time for me to get nailed on a technicality. Every now and then a hunter takes a goose that has a metal band on its leg. Nelson Hurst has taken a half-dozen banded geese and a couple ducks. In the duck hunter's tradition, he displays them on his duck and goose call lanyard around his neck, which means he's an experienced hunter. Now, do you have to leave this on, taking this goose out of the field?
No, you could take it off now.
Take it off?
All they want you to do is send in numbers on the band.
Oh, you keep the band, send in the numbers.
Keep the band and send in numbers, tell them where you shot it at, what county, what state, and then they will send you back a computer printout, tell you what sex the bird is, where it's been banded, and how many times they've recaught that bird in their traps. They give you the whole life history on it.
I'll be darned.
I shot one here 3 years ago that was from Hudson Bay. It was 9 years old, and they'd trapped it clear down in southern Illinois before.
Now, theoretically, this bird should be a Michigan bird from right around here. So the band shouldn't have any. The idea behind the early goose season with a liberal limit of 5 geese is to trim down the numbers of local geese that have become such a nuisance on farms and in urban areas. The regular goose season, where hunters take migratory geese coming down from Canada, that opens later and has more restrictive limits. But resident goose populations have exploded to problem levels, which makes an early goose season a practical solution. Now that you're in the mood for hunting season, we have a recipe on page 27 of the Practical Sportsman Cookbook that's called stir-fry venison, but it's equally as good with goose breasts because goose meat is dark like venison. Now, the key is to marinate the venison or the goose breast, which is cut into strips. You put this in a marinade made with a half cup of soy sauce, 3/4 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, a pinch of ginger, garlic powder, and pepper, and 1 teaspoon of oyster flavor sauce, and that's optional. Marinate the meat in this mixture overnight in the refrigerator. Then get the oil heated up in a wok. Blend in your stir-fry vegetables with the meat. There's a whole list of recommended vegetables in the cookbook: carrots, onions, celery, peppers, water chestnuts, pineapple, tomatoes, mushrooms. And just before serving, thicken with cornstarch or tapioca starch. Margaret Hart from Glace Bay, Nova Scotia sent us this excellent recipe. Anybody would like venison cooked this way, even if they say they don't like venison. It's going to be a whole new series right here on Practical Sportsman and in the state of Michigan, but make sure that you do one thing to be a part of this. Get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week. Spring is released that turns the second arrow over directly in line with the string. You push the string into the nock. The arrow holder flips out of the way when you draw. There's no way your eye can catch what's happening at regular speed, but when we slow it down, you can see. The hinged mechanism is simple enough so that it works flawlessly. All you do is engage the string onto the nock and pull back. Your second arrow is ready. It's an intriguing concept, but at $69, will most archers find the Ultra Loader amazing or amusing?